Hey folks, Professor Snark checking in on Tuesday here. We are getting right down to the end of our course. We finish up in just a couple of days here. So Unit 9, the last of the modern world units, is due Tuesday, which is today, June 26th. And then we have a final unit and final essay due on Thursday. So I'm just going to pop into the unit itself here. So in some ways the unit is fairly conventional. It's stuff that we've done before. There's some background, comments by me here, and then some readings from the textbook. But then instead of a discussion board response essay that's just focused on those readings fairly narrowly, we're actually looking at a final essay that's much more overarching or kind of global in scope. It obviously makes sense to do at the end of our course, kind of thinking about some of the really big ideas, where we get started, what's the nature of this whole liberal education enterprise, what is a masterpiece of world literature, even the notion of world literature, what does that mean? It's sort of a phrase we use so much, we take it for granted, but what are its implications? Does it matter who is speaking in terms of like how that term gets defined, what a world literature is? And does geography even matter? Should it matter? How much should we understand about geography, whether it's a physical place or a kind of social, political context, in terms of evaluating or even just reading to understand a particular work? The notion of a world literature seems to imply that obviously it matters where something is written or when it's written and read and all of that kind of stuff, but do those things matter, and how do they matter, or why? But that's the kind of big question that you can be thinking about, not that one per se, but that sort of level of, big overarching idea. But then obviously what we're looking to do in this final essay is to pull from specific readings from our textbook from throughout the course here to address some of those bigger ideas. So despite the fact that in some ways we want to address these kind of grand notions, we still want to ground the essay in specific quotation, sort of fully developed discussion within those specifics, not just a whole bunch of these really big ideas. And remember that you don't want to pose too many of those questions without providing some form of an answer. And it doesn't have to be definitive in the sense that you've figured things out, but you can put forth, possibilities. So that it's okay to ask questions, but you do want to answer them, but it doesn't mean that you have to answer them in some final, complete, this is the right one and this is the wrong one sort of way. But be sure you don't leave those questions just hanging for the reader to think about with no input on your end of it too. So a couple of things I'm just repeating from the unit here. Be sure that you think about the number of examples you want to include, make it reasonable, make it doable so that you can actually develop some of the ideas in terms of those readings. You're not just skipping from one to the next to the next to the next. Obviously you're quoting directly, just like we've done throughout. It makes for a better essay, but fundamentally it shows me that you've done those readings or sort of engaged with those texts. And then be sure that you make reference to the course objectives as they're given in the syllabi. Again, they're very broad and fairly accessible. And some of the supplementary readings in the essays. So think of this final essay as really your opportunity to pull some, not all, but some of the threads together that we've been looking at in terms of those bigger ideas, and then how they play out or relate to the specific readings that we've been looking at. So by far the most challenging part of the essay is just picking what texts you want to cover, what ideas you want to cover, and kind of coordinating them or organizing your essay in an effective way. So the essay itself might not be substantially longer than a fully developed discussion board post, maybe a page more at the most, I would say. So it's not really a matter of length that we're concerned with here, just word count. It's really a matter of effective organization. So that's where, if you have some extra time to be thinking about it, or extra, that you want to invest here, it really is maybe a brainstorming and drafting phase that you can devote a little more time to for this essay than maybe would have been the case for some of the previous discussion board material. Although, to be perfectly honest, some of the discussion board stuff has just been so great, so sort of fully developed, fully worked out, well organized, well executed, that they have, some of those posts have been the equivalent of a fully formed, drafted, revised, polished essay. So they're pretty impressive work that people have been doing. The last thing to say then is, especially because you're trying to pull so many things, different things together, and things of different relative generality, some very big and some very particular, which is challenging. If you want to run ideas past me before really setting them in stone here, by all means do so. So send me an email, especially now at the end of the course. I am really conscious about getting back to people as immediately as I can, even if it's a quick something on my phone. And obviously, if you ever get an email from me that's formatted weirdly and really clipped and sounds like I'm just pissed off, it's not. It's just that I'm probably answering on my phone, trying to get all the words, and you know how it is. But either way, I'll try to respond as soon as I can so that you can move forward with what you're doing, either in the direction that you proposed or maybe in a slightly different one based on the communication that we've had together. Okay, so especially as we're getting right down to the end of our course, be sure to be in touch with any questions or concerns. Keep that due date in mind, and be sure you get that file posted no later than the due date, which is Thursday. I'll talk to everyone soon.